Well, good day. Let's start talking about C Sharp as we get in. C Sharp is an interesting language, one that you're going to, I hope, like as much as I like. So let's take a look at what we've got and what it looks like and what kind of things are going to go on with that. First of all, let's talk a little bit about the C Sharp language and why I like it and why I think it's so interesting. Um, it's just a type-safe modern language, which is a lot of things that's important things. It's entirely an object-oriented language. We've talked a little bit about why being type-safe is so important. Uh, but the primary reason you want it to be type-safe is we want to make sure that whatever we're passing to the program is what it's expecting, and it verifies that. This stops a huge number of errors, which are hard to catch and can be very, very difficult to handle and find later on. We'll talk more about that as the semester goes along. It's one of the primary things that we worry about when we talk about professional languages, whether it's type safe or not. But a little bit of history on this. Um, C Sharp is based upon an interesting background of languages. First of all, it takes the C and the C++ languages uh, and works from those particular languages. Uh, and each of those have several different kind of problems that's involved with it. Pointers is obviously the problem with both of those languages and things that go on. Java was really the first major derivative off of the C languages. Um, and Java is a much better language in many ways than both either the C or the C++. C Sharp takes Java a step further. So it essentially takes the best of C++, C, and Java and combines it into a modern language, which Microsoft has adopted as essentially the standard language that it uses for most of its major programming projects. They're not operating systems, things of that nature. But if we're talking about a development language, C Sharp is the language that goes along with it. It's the native language of .NET. What do I mean by the native language? It's the language that .NET is written in and compiled from and works with it. So it's the language that has the most common characteristics. Yes, there are lots of .NET languages, uh, but most of the stuff is written in C Sharp, that in a C++ version. Um, it provides all of the basic features of Visual Basic, but in a safer environment. Visual Basic is one of those languages which is not type safe. Uh, and so it's not really a professional programming language. It's used by other kind of features and everything else to build it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about .NET. .NET is what really makes the difference when we're talking about C Sharp at this point. It's a huge class library that can be used to write everything from console applications, web applications, to the most complicated GUI kind of thing. It has more different APIs built into it than I believe possible. Every time I look to see, okay, I find a new little something that's built into .NET that I may or may not need and may or not be applicable to the current environment I'm programming in. So it's big, and you need lots and lots of reference kind of things to make it go through. So let's talk about compilation on that. Um, we talked earlier this semester about how we have the hybrid languages. Well, C Sharp is very much one of those hybrid languages. Uh, the first thing that happens is there's a compiler called uh, that compiles the C Sharp language down to the Common Intermediate Language, or CIL. CIL's important. Uh, Nobody ever works in CIL. I guess you could if you really wanted to, but uh, it's the language that all of the .NET things compile down to. So if you were to write a COBOL.NET or a C++.NET, it would be compiled down to a CIL, which then becomes what is interpreted as needed. So that's the compile part. And then CIL is the machine language part that is interpreted down to machine language from there. And it's a hybrid interpretation. It's only done as needed, so it's fast from there. Next big point, it does provide managed code. What do we mean by managed code? Well, the biggest thing we mean by managed code is, hey, there are no pointers. It uses garbage collection, memory management, all of those other kind of things which can make your life so miserable in the C++ languages. So we have all of those different kind of things that are there that allow you to work with that. We need to talk a little bit about memory management and garbage collection. Many different languages work with garbage collection and work from that basis as they go through that. What happens is the languages keep track of what is using their object. So when there is essentially nothing that is using the object anymore, then garbage collection is run, which clears out that object and returns it to memory. Where in the C++ languages we've worked with before, that is not an automatic process. You have to do it manually. Now, I will give you, as everybody else will give you, that it is much more efficient to do that in the C++ way, because you never have to run the garbage, the overhead, and everything else is involved with it. But it has such a huge danger quotient that's involved with it, of not doing it right and to have all the different kind of things. Last point on the chart, anything that is written in C#.NET can be used by any other .NET language. So if you write a module in C# and you want it to be used in something else, that just works. Or if you write one in C++ and need to intermediate, you can do it. Now, I will give you that those are non-trivial steps to accomplish that, but it certainly is nothing that's difficult or otherwise. Take some books with some ideas about how to do it, but nothing that's hard or otherwise that would cause you problems. All right, how do you learn to program in C#? I'm going to give you a lot of the basics at this point. There's a textbook that's available, I talked to you about, which is a good reference book. If you're going to be doing a lot of programming in that, that would certainly be one. But this is the reference you need to take a look at. I'll put this out on my webpage. This is Charles Petzold. He's one of my gurus. I could talk a lot about Charles Petzold. And from there, he wrote a book called What the C or C++ Programmer Needs to Know About C# and the .NET Framework. It is a very basic reference. I would expect any of you would be able to use that as a starting point to be able to write basic C#. Now we're going to go a lot deeper than that particular book goes in several different areas, but it's a good starting point and it's free. So take a look at the website. It comes as a PDF that you can download and work from that as a starting point to do that. If you need a reference or things to go along with that. All right, so let me take a break at this point and upload this part, and then the next section will be actually building and compiling C++